Welcome to Night Shadows. I'm Stuart Best, where the paranormal is normal, where that which you thought you knew, you didn't, and where the future can be known if you know exactly where to look.
Well, good evening, everyone. I'm Stuart. We got Larry on board. Hi, Larry. How are you doing? Busy night,
Stuart,
busy day.
Oh, my. Incredibly busy day. Matter of fact, Stuart, I'll just note right here that they've issued a new warning for the Oroville Dam, and they're claiming now this massive storm is set to go through the weekend, and over a foot of rain is believed to fall, and they're already telling people to go ahead voluntarily and begin to evacuate because they don't think this dam can hold that.
Is this weather warfare, do you think?
Well, it's certainly possible. It's also possible it's divine warfare. I don't know.
Yeah. Kind of hard to tell sometimes whether it's the Lord or whether the Lord allows stupid man. I don't know if did you ever see that deal where they had this gorilla? I think it was a gorilla. And they taught this gorilla how to communicate with, I don't know if she was doing signs or what.
Oh,
but
yeah,
one of the first words out of her mouth was, "Man, stupid."
That was Congo. That was the movie Congo.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It was about hidden artifacts in the Congo and diamonds and lasers and but this animal had that arm that helped it talk and I guess it's a little AI or something and it spoke.
Yeah. Well, actually, "man, stupid" is a very accurate terminology. We're about ready to do ourselves in.
Yeah, you said one time that.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, you said one time that the term stupidity is it's biblical.
Yes, it is. And the American people are sitting back, not knowing what's coming. And we're in the middle of a communist coup. People should type in, if they have never done it, type in communist plank. There's 45 things that the communists said they wanted to do to take America. And people should go in there and just type in 45 planks of the Communist Party and go through those one by one, and you'll find out that just about every one of them has now been accomplished. And this is probably the final coup attempt. What's the deal on Obama and his minions and his armies? Any more news on that coming out on either Fox or Fox Business? Which is about the only place you're going to get anything.
Yeah, they've been talking that all day pretty much. A lot of the links have been, tied back to, and matter of fact, as I said earlier, this guy, Spivey, I believe is his name. No, it's Paul Sperry from the New York Post had found the information about Obama's shadow government that he created called the OSA before he left office, and how at the same time when he left office, he broadened all the power of the NSA and the other agencies to really spy on the complete, from the bottom to the top of the American people, all the way from the poor guy that's talking on his little crack phone out here in the middle of nowhere, up to the President of the United States. It's all captured now by the beast.
Well, of course, if you're going to have peace and security, I wrote a piece on that some time ago, but if you're going to have peace and security, you have to know what everybody's doing, and you have to know what they think, and then you run your computer algorithms, and the computer spits out the names of who they should arrest and round up in order to have security. And if you've got people with dissent, you don't have peace. And so the New World Order basically is going to eliminate millions of Americans if it comes into power. And it certainly looks, from biblical point of view, absolutely it will come into power. Everything that, all the prophecies against the United States are coming true with 100% accuracy, including the FEMA camps.
Well, what you said is seems extremely accurate. And did you get to listen or watch that video between L.A. Marzulli and Paul Begley talking about the shadow government and what's going on? What do you think?
Oh, they've been monitoring for a long, long time. They how do I word this? Psalm 2 tells us very, very clearly that the Christians are the target, that Jesus Christ is the target. And the obvious reason why the NSA, CIA, and all the other agencies around the world, not just America, want to get rid of that concept is because I think they know innately that Jesus Christ is coming back. And when he does, they're done. D-O-N-E, done, gone, vanished to a place they don't want to really go to. They're dealing with the Creator. I don't understand the mindset at all of how anyone could think possibly they could defeat their own Creator. Like he doesn't know what they're going to do, what they're doing, what they think. Yeah.
Yeah, what's interesting too, Stuart, and I walk a lot up here, and I took a walk earlier today, and was kind of praying and meditating on what's been going on and all this craziness in the land, and I really had to, and I'd like your opinion on this. I really, it's like I had listened to some of the news, and it's like the hate, the interviews that were done, the hate is so palpable against Trump. And, of course, they're also hating Israel and this focus on Israel, and they'd rather have an Iran than Israel. But the deal with Trump seems to be more than dislike, it's a palpable hate that's almost, I would say, I would rate it on a spiritual level, a spiritual hate that you cannot reason with. I mean, you can't even talk to it. You can't present your argument. It won't even tell the truth. There's no truth there. Truth really is trampled in the streets while these lies just are in the forefront continually. And Stuart, as I was thinking about that, I turned around at the bottom of the hill and I started walking back up the hill to the house, and it's like, I can't see this is the Lord. I can't say that at all. But what struck me was it was like I was, it seemed like, wonder if heaven is keeping score. In other words, Trump, the minute he began to run for election, it's almost like everybody's reaction to him is being recorded on a high level that's not going to be on paper or the NSA won't contain. But it's almost like we're being tested as a nation right now. And could it be that there is so many in this nation, every single moment, their thoughts are evil. You cannot, it's rare to find righteousness anymore. All you can find is unrighteousness and lawlessness. Are we at the point, Stuart, to where this nation is literally being judged this very moment, and we would have healed Babylon, but she will not be healed?
Oh, I think so. I don't think there's any question about it. I had a dream one time, and I'm not telling anybody to believe it came from the Lord at all. I think it did, but I don't really know. But anyway, I was taken to Washington, D.C. in that dream, and I was put into the halls of power, watching these people. And the Lord said, "It's done. Doesn't matter what they do." In other words, they have been weighed in the balance and found wanting, exactly as ancient Babylon. Yeah. And So what we're watching, and that was probably 20 years ago, maybe more, and I've been kind of watching this play out. We would have healed Babylon, just like you said, but she would not heal. Remember when the Lord said to Israel and Jerusalem, I would have, as baby chicks, taken you under my wings and protected you, but you would not. Well, he's saying to America, we would have healed you, but you would not. They won't. And you're right. It's totally insane. It is spiritual. And it is an insane. It's no different than what you used to run into if you got into a domestic as a police officer. There is no reason. You cannot reason with them. Reason is all gone. Logic is gone. There's only remains is emotion. And that's what we're watching. It's kind of a spiritual, emotional, insane rising and destruction, exactly really as the book of Enoch talks about, how the demons would rise up in people at the last days and destroy them.
We're seeing it. Yeah, we're seeing it, Stuart. And here's something, and I can't really place this in a chronological order of events, in history, but Yahoo News posted today, and I put that on my blog today, that an astonishing geomagnetic spike scientists have found proved to have hit the ancient kingdom of Judah, and said that the evidence was dug up with ancient artifacts near Jerusalem, and this is what's interesting, Stuart. A geomagnetic spike. That would mean that's probably some type of solar event. Some type of event that's caused maybe by the sun, or it could be, we don't know what came through about that time either. But, if that happened to them, and then how disobedient they were,
yes.
Could we be looking at the same, it's almost like a precedent. Maybe if the Creator set up a precedent of striking them with a geomagnetic spike, could we receive the same thing?
Well, it's very interesting you say that, because I was just looking at an article and I watched it on YouTube. Strange pulse. They don't know what it is, whether it's harmonic or electrical. Strange pulse all over America. Took 3 minutes to go from East Coast to the West Coast, and no one knows what it was, but it was registered on all of the, seismographs.
Wow.
And it took 3 minutes, to go from coast to coast. There's something going on here.
Yeah.
And you remember the bots and the stupefaction.
Yes, absolutely.
I love that word. But anyway, stupefaction, dementia, et cetera, because we are body electric. I don't think people realize that we are really a body electric. Our whole body is made up of just little atoms running around, and it's all electrical. And we live in a very specific electromagnetic environment. You change that environment, and you're going to change consciousness. This is what the New Age has been talking about right along, that this pulse that's going to come through, and I believe we've already seen a forerunner of it that was registered all over the world not very long ago. I think that was like a month ago or 2 weeks ago, something like that, where this pulse was recorded, and they claim that this will change consciousness.
Wow.
Now, when you really stop and think about it, remember when the CDC was talking about zombies?
Oh, absolutely.
And then England was talking about zombies. Well, then they began to run military exercises against zombies. Remember that?
Oh, yeah, and the zombie movies are still big. I mean, they did a lot of movies like World War Z, et cetera, et cetera.
So why are they doing it? Unless something's coming. If you have an electromagnetic wave and it does affect your consciousness and affects your mental prowess, let's put it that way. It could go both ways, and they may know it. So it's very, very interesting. And I don't know if you've had a lot of chemtrail activity down there, but we have just been loaded with chemtrail activity here.
Oh my! We've had massive chemtrails, and even some of them are black, almost black when they're being poured out to the planes. Darnat took a picture the other day of one that had a black chemtrail it was laying. And Augusto Perez said on the East Coast they're having the same thing. Lots of people around the country are reporting that it seems to be ramped up.
I wonder if this has something to do with the flu and what else is in there that they're getting ready. I mean, we talk about mind control, MK Ultra, and all of that sort of thing, and most people poo-poo it, and they say it's not possible, blah, blah, blah. It not only is, it's being done. Remember when Mel Gibson made the movie Conspiracy Theory? He was trying to warn the people. That was about MK Ultra. That's what that movie was all about. Through chemtrails, through electromagnetics, they probably can do an awful lot of bad stuff to people. But I'm really curious when you bring up that electromagnetic pulse back in those days. And here we have another one, and they really didn't know what it was. They said it was harmonic, but it was electrical at the same time. Now, I don't know if that's from core expansion or whether some strange electromagnetic changes are taking place. Anyway, getting back to Trump. He was at some military base and was speaking about rebuilding our military to make it the most powerful in the world. Did you hear about that one?
Oh, absolutely. And he says that program is already underway. I think that Congress is a little unhappy with him, but he's already got a lot of things in play. And of course, speaking of Trump, I have to mention also from gleaning intelligence around the world, it appears he's also got military activity in play that probably no one knows about. Matter of fact, Netanyahu came out after he got back to Israel, I believe, and said that Trump and he had a mission now to confront Iran.
Well, Iran's not going to take too kindly to that.
No,
and I cannot imagine either. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, add to that two things. Number one, we've got that Russian spy ship sitting about 17 miles off of Norfolk base on the East Coast, and that's the largest, base in the world, naval base in the world. And at the same time, Soleiman, I know you've heard of him.
Yes.
That's the Soleiman that Standeo warned us to watch. He has broke the United Nations treaty deal with somehow he was a resolution or something where he could not go out of the country he was in or something, or travel worldwide. And anyway, he's in Moscow now meeting with Putin, and they're going over some things. There's a lot going on. People are missing, and of course, when you look at our press, well, I don't know what to say. I mean, but we do, talking about Paul Begley and L.A. Marzulli and all these others, the thing is, I've often wondered, I've had a lot of people tell me, Stuart, they've told me, if you just had the security my internet or my computer's got, you wouldn't get hit. Well, the last guys that hit me, the people that analyzed that said you couldn't stop them. There's no availability of the quality equipment, whether it's McAfee or Kaspersky or I just name all the whole list of them. They can't stop these intrusions that come from something that high up. And so I began to put two and two together, Stuart, and I decided, well, on my blog, I probably write a whole lot of stuff every single day they don't want out. So no wonder.
Absolutely.
I face this every day. I almost hate to turn my computer on anymore because I figure it's going to get hit that day. I know that's not faith maybe, but that's how I live, okay?
Well, they don't. There's a lot of stuff here they're trying to stop, and to me it's idiotic. I make no bones about it. I think the NSA and the CIA people and the the Russian intelligence, the Mossad, and all that, they really ought to spend their time studying the Bible, because they're not going to outsmart God. They probably don't even believe God exists, which is essentially probably where they are at. But they're going to find out the hard way he does. And I just kind of sitting back like I'm on the moon, watching all these nations maneuver, and they're headed for total annihilation. And nothing could be more plain in the prophetic scriptures. Maybe people don't understand what prophecy really is. I guess a lot of them would classify it. I don't know what you would think, but certainly make a comment on it. Prophecy is not prediction. Prophecy is what actually happened, and God wrote it down and gave it to the prophets 2,000 years ago. And that's why it's 100% accurate 100% of the time, because God simply watched it all happen, wrote it down, and gave it. And, of course, his hand is on it. Like he says, my hand is stretched out upon the nations, and I'm going to do my will, and no one is going to stop me. Well, you see what these intel agencies are trying to do, really, I think, they may not even know it, is try to circumvent the Lord. And one of the reasons, of course, they hate the Bible and they hate Christians is because the Lord points all these people out, the rich men of the earth, the kings and the rulers, the international corporations. They're named specifically as the ones bringing all of this about. And they're going to lose. They ought to read the last chapter. They're going to lose. So it's all vanity no matter what. Anyway, what's your comment?
Yeah. Oh, I have to agree with you, Stuart, totally. It's almost like Creator's sitting at the very end of the time machine where time stops, and he's already seen everything that's happened already, and he just passes it down through time to, people below the level of where he's at, and says, here's what happened. He shows them by dreams, by visions. He says that over and over, and they write down what he says, and that's prophecy. It's not something that you're speculating on. You're actually telling what's going to happen. And it's kind of interesting. I listened to Paul Begley talking to L.M. Zulu today, and he said, what's so odd? He says, when these three-letter agency people came to me and threatened me and showed me that list, and the people that were on, some of the people that were on that list, including me and others, he said, I told them, well, I didn't have any whistleblowers that's working within those three-letter agencies that have told me these things I'm writing. He says, I do it by the Holy Spirit. And then he said, well, you should have seen the look I got from them then. So they don't understand, Stuart. They think me, you, everybody, if we're hitting 95% on what we are talking about and then we see it happen in a week or 2 weeks or a month, they think we're being fed secrets.
Well, actually, we are, but the secrets are coming from a place they're not familiar with and never will be, I guess. Hopefully they would come around and figure this thing out. I think people don't realize that God created time, space, energy, matter, life, and spirit. He does not reside within time. He resides outside of time. So he knows everything that went down. And these agencies that are so in love with Satan and his minions really ought to sit down and try and save their soul. But they'll never do that because we are at the time of the great apostasy. We're at the time when the Lord says virtually no one, even the Christians, will not accept sound doctrine. They turn their ears away from the truth, and they're turned unto fables. And this is where we are. They're turned unto fables, and there's nothing you or I or anyone else can do about it. This thing is going to go down exactly as it was written. We can't stop it. All we can do is watch it happen. And it's, I went to a funeral today. It's just very, very sad. It's very, very sad how mankind is so fragile and has only a limited time here. And that time is designed, I firmly believe, to find the Creator. You remember the movie, the first I think it was Star Trek movie, where they found Vija, I think they called it, Vija, and Vija was kind of a computer searching for its creator?
Yeah, that was Voyager that was lost.
Yes. So, that's weird. But that's really what it was about.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, are we just 30 minutes tonight?
No, 45.
Oh, okay. I've got something I wanted to bring to your attention, and kind of interesting. A guy by the name of Josh Peck has a show called Into the Multiverse with Skywatch TV, Tom Horn's group, and he wrote a very interesting article. I get their little monthly news magazine, and it's got an article in there by Josh Peck. It's called The Israel UFO Connection of 2017-2018. And it's a really interesting article. And one of the things he's got listed is he's got the time scale, and he talks about biblical year cycles of high strangeness. And the article basically, without going into it very in depth, talks about the UFOs and the connection with what's happening with Israel and the frequency of the UFO waves. And we're in one of the most unprecedented waves now, it says, here in 5777. But I also, while I was reading that, I saw a note he made by Psalms 9. He was talking about this next 70 years. Psalms 90 and 10 says, the days of our lives are 70 years, and if by reason of strength they are 80 years, yet their boast is only labor and sorrow, for it is soon cut off, and we fly away. Well, Stuart, I was 70 this month. Matter of fact, Groundhog Day, I was 70 years old, and that verse really hit me kind of heavy. And then I thought, well, you were 77, and I wasn't going to ask you how it made you feel, but that's, 5's grace, and that's 5777.
Yeah. In fact, I don't know if you knew it or not, but Trump's press conference the other day when he was chewing up the media and spitting them out, 77 minutes.
I saw that, Stuart, and what's the odds of that?
There aren't. That was calculated. That was timed perfectly. And people really need to start waking up because they use numbers. The mystery or the Masonic Lodge, basically, in all its various forms and offshoots, is called mystery in the Bible. It is they are the secret religions. They have secret rituals, and they are very, very powerful. But in the Bible, Daniel says that they make craft to prosper. So you're going to see a lot of this kind of stuff. And I'm not even saying Trump did it deliberately. It's kind of like the 9/11. That was totally supernatural, but all the numbers were there. They always leave their signature. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to mention and bring to your attention, remember the movie Knowing that you and I both watched, and how intriguing that, and of course it's controversial, but it's also intriguing. But remember the paper that was written out with all the dates, and not only the dates and the number of people that would die throughout this historical record until the end there, but also it even had the grid pattern numbers,
the coordinates.
And it reminds me. Yeah, go ahead.
No, it was just the coordinates. And he didn't know that right away. But yes, numbers mean everything. and they're very, very important. The entire universe is built upon mathematics. In fact, if you watch, like Albert Einstein and those guys, what are they doing? They're using very high-level mathematics. I don't even know if they call it mathematics at that point, but it's all equations and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They're trying to unlock it. And, of course, the Lord is the chief. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say that, I've had a few communications with Eli Yahoo Rips there in Israel, and he shared with me that, of course, it's all incredible mathematics. I mean, when they got into the Torah codes, it's all about mathematics and numbers, and what's interesting was he emailed me one day and said, you know what? He said, this is multidimensional. Multidimensional. It's greater than we are, totally. And that's a clue. But, the interesting thing is, Stuart, a lot of the Torah codes and prophecy, even as Begley's deal there and L.A. Marzulli were talking, they said there's even black projects that look into prophecy. But, Israel does the very same thing. Their people in secret look into the Torah codes. They look into prophecy. Everybody around the world seems to be playing the game of, if there's any way for an outside influence to intervene on planet Earth, they want to know the key before it gets here.
Lots of luck. I know that's true because many years ago, maybe 20, maybe 25 years ago, we had a neighbor that had a friend, and these two women got together, and I don't know, they were talking about prophecy, and this friend said, oh, well, my husband works for the Pentagon, and that's exactly what they're studying.
Yeah.
They were studying prophecy, trying to figure out who's who. My guess is God's not going to show them who we are.
Well,
it's like Israel.
I run that back also, there's been a little criticism at times because you've said, Donald Trump appears to be Cyrus, but I'm not all too sure who he really is. But, you're right. Jesus was not only the Son of Man, which was one individual or type, but he was also the Son of God. He had all kind of different names and personalities, I guess, to those names. And, what's interesting, men that the hand of the Lord is bent behind, sometimes we don't even know who they are, and sometimes there's more than one individual. I mean, it's like, they're more than one. So sometimes we see it, just like Obama. Now, I got a word from somebody that had emailed me that said there's supposedly some prophecies coming out that Obama is going to return to power in America as its ruler, not president, that there won't be any more presidents, but Obama will somehow retake power. I can't say that's true. I don't even know, but I do know he's trying. And, so who is Obama even? I think you called him a really apropos word called Lucifer, but maybe he's also somebody else that we don't know yet.
Well, it's very, very interesting that Obama, nobody knows anything about him. The birth certificate is a total fraud. Anybody that does any research, if they would just drop all their biases and all that and quit saying that's not possible. It is not only possible, it was proven by a couple. Who was that sheriff out there? And was it Arizona or someplace? He sent a squad out.
That was Sheriff Arpaio.
He says he has
out there,
proof.
and he, not only that, Stuart. Look at all of the feds that attacked him continually, trying to file criminal cases on him, and now he's not even sheriff anymore. They took him out.
Yeah. Well, he came against the powers that be. Now, Obama's grandmother swears that she was in Kenya when he was born. In Kenya. Everybody in Europe seems to know he was born in Kenya. There's so many American people that don't seem to know it. But anyway, Who is Obama? We don't know. Nobody knows. Not really.
Right.
And when the Lord says he's got his hand stretched out upon the nations, he's not fooling. And prophecy is going to be fulfilled. And maybe Obama is going to come back. I know what I was told, and he definitely is Lucifer. Now, the only question is Lucifer an office or an individual? It's kind of like the papacy. It's kind of an office, but when you have a pope actually probably at the end, whom you could call something like the final Lucifer here, right now, according to the Bible, Trump would be Lucifer if you took the actual title as King of Babylon. Unfortunately, though, yet we don't have a king. We only have presidents. But if Obama returns, like you were just saying, he would be king. He would be the king of Babylon.
Yeah.
Another thing, did you see McMullen there from Utah calling Trump an enemy of the state, basically?
I'm not really shocked at that because Lou Dobbs asked a really interesting question to a number of guests tonight, and he was asking them, with Trump having to stand up and defend himself against this left-wing media that has him, I guess you could say, a stranglehold basically on his new administration. Lou asked, where are the Republicans? Where are their voices? We're not hearing any one of them defend him or stand behind him. And, well, that's right. It's interesting, Stuart, because Trump actually, he's on the campaign trail again, but he's not campaigning. He's talking straight to the American people. He's bypassing media. And what's interesting is, of course, they're already after him about that. But this weekend, we're approaching President's Day, and so it'll be a big holiday weekend. And then the Republican Party is taking off next week. Trump don't even have his cabinet, but they're taking off next week. He's going to be working, but they're gone.
Well, they're worthless. Basically, let's be honest. They're worthless. I don't know why the people keep voting them back into office. Take somebody like Pelosi. She's about 5 bubbles off center on a Carpenter scale. She says things that are so absolutely ridiculous, but they keep putting her back in. They don't vote her out. It's the same thing with all of them. And it kind of makes you wonder, what is that definition of insanity, is to do the same thing over and over again and expect different results? Well, that's what we got. I don't know. And this media war, Trump really came out and kind of stoked the fires, more than just a little. And they are now out for blood.
Oh, absolutely.
But you know what's really happening is the people are beginning to see it for what it is.
Well, that's dangerous for them, Stuart. When the people begin to wake up a little, when they're beginning to wake up and they're starting to see them for as they are, that's dangerous for them. And they have to. It really is a war. I call it a war. Other people can call it what they want to, but it's a war we're watching, a ruler against ruler. And when you say ruler, the news media is not benign. It has appeared now to be the fourth arm of our government, or the other arm of Obama.
It is. It's the other. It's the war. This is a communist operation from start to finish. They're destabilizing America, and then they're going to pull her down. And you were mentioning something about there may be a whole bunch of, I don't know what you call them, marches or violence or whatever in the streets. This is how they operate. This is what they do. And this media thing, they're all, they call them progressives, but they aren't progressives. They're in retrograde, actually. They just don't know it. But that's just a polite word for communists, socialists. And what we are watching here in America is a socialistic takeover. They've infiltrated our educational. They've infiltrated every avenue. They said they would. It's part of the communist plank. Again, I urge people to go to Google and type in the 45 planks of the Communist Party and go through them. We're right at the very edge. They know exactly what they're doing, and I don't know whether Trump can stop it or not. If he does, it's because of the hand of the Lord and because he wants Trump to preside over this radical change that's coming to Israel. What say you on that one?
Well, that's even taken an interesting turn too, Stuart. Now, number one, we do know that Trump is focused on the Middle East, and of course Netanyahu was there yesterday and had 2 days of meetings. So he's focused there. We've heard the talk about the Sanhedrin and the new temple. We've heard the talk about one state, two state. We've heard the talk about moving the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem. But now, with Netanyahu saying Trump and he has a plan about Iran is showing its nervousness because Iran apparently has just pushed, and this is from Debka File, the Hezbollah leader, Nasrallah. He's come out today and threatened to have a missile attack on Dimona, which is a nuclear reactor there in Israel, and also to strike the ammonia plant, a massive ammonia plant in Israel there at the Haifa harbor. And that would about decimate the whole entire area of Israel completely. I mean, if that occurred. So Iran is pushing Hezbollah to do this, to begin the rhetoric. Now, whether they're going to, Israel's been expecting a move. And, of course, Iran, this appears to be the nervousness of Iran, and I wonder what would provoke Iran into attacking from all directions, as you said in Daniel 8.
Yeah, well, it might be that they just figure, what do we got to lose at this time? Let's preempt, because Israel is very well known for their preemptive attacks. You read about it in the paper a day later, but they just strike without any warning. Not that they shouldn't. Not that they're surrounded by enemies, and they're hated by the whole world. And I think that's one of the other things, too, that Israel becomes kind of a, I don't know what you'd call it, trouble for the entire world. And I think, yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to interject there that I remember what you said years ago. You came out and said to me that you believe Benjamin Netanyahu was born for this time to lead Israel. And, I look back at when I began to intercede for him when he was the prime minister way back. And look how I'm astonished, Stuart, how long he has survived. Not only the personal attacks, the assassination attempts, but the political attacks of even presidents of this country, and he is still standing.
Yeah, that was a very strange thing. I saw him on TV about 20 some odd years ago. He was on TV, and the Spirit just told me he's going to be the one who runs Israel through the tribulation period. And everybody said he's gone. He went away. Well, now he's back. It's kind of like everybody says, well, Trump is going to be gone. Well, maybe not. Maybe not until the Lord decides he's going to be gone. Then he'll be gone. Not when the CIA or the NSA or anybody else thinks he's going to be gone. It'll only be at the hand of the Lord. Anyway, how do people reach you, Larry?
Oh, the quickest way, Stuart, to my blog, LarryWTaylor.org.
Okay, folks. Well, we are in very, very dangerous times. And The Simpsons just had a program, I was told, where they got Donald Trump laying in a coffin. So there are many, many forces that want Trump out of here. So look out, because we may be staring down a hot revolution. Anyway, take care of yourselves. Good evening, and we'll see you later on.